So we have seen four major causes of French Revolution. The first was the political cause, right? When there was over-centralized authority under the Bourbon dynasty, right? There was a monarchical form of government. We have seen the divine rights theory. Second was the social inequality, the deep social inequality between the first estate, which was the clergy, right? The second estate, which were your nobles, and the third estate, which was the common man, right? So these common man, which consisted of 97 to 98% of the population, they had to pay huge amount of taxes. Okay. So what was happening that apart from this, the third cause we saw was the economic cause, right? Where we see that already 7 years of war had been happening, right? And already the state was under a lot of economic pressure. And there was role of the Enlightenment philosophers, okay, which had further instilled the idea of liberty, equality, and fraternity among the people. Now understand that what happened because of all these factors, the king, Louis XVI, he organized a general estates meeting at Versailles. And but what happened that only first and the second estate were given entry, and the third estate of the common man was not allowed the entry into the palace of Versailles, because the other two estates were saying about that one vote should represent one particular estate. But is it fair enough? But the third estate was talking that one vote should be given to each member of the estate, right? So further we see that the third estate by itself, it goes to the tennis court, okay, it takes the oath and it constitutes itself into the National Assembly of France. It is said that it is the will of the people with which they give themselves this power to draft a constitution of France. And now from here, the king is even forced to bow down to the will of these people, because two major incidences happened. The first one we discussed was Fall of Bastille or Fall of Ancient Regime, right? They marched into the Bastille and they freed the prisoners from there. Second thing, we saw that the women, they went into Versailles, right, and demanded the bread. Now, across all the Paris, lot of riots were already going on. So what happens? Ultimately, the king has to move, and this leads to the transformation of France into a complete constitutional monarchy with a constitution in 1791. Now, what happens that during this French Revolution, a number of political clubs are formed. Okay. In this, the freedom of association is guaranteed under the new French Association, which led to its emergence, and these became a platform for powerful debate, for mobilizing the masses, for shaping any kind of revolutionary ideas in France. Okay, and also over here we'll see, so we see here that coming up of Jacobins, right, which is also known as Reign of Terror, one of the important political clubs. And in this context of new French Revolution, which is guaranteeing the freedom of association, we will see that a Paris Commune and a National Guard is formed. So a new municipal government, okay, or the Paris Commune, it was present or formed to administer the capital. And for maintaining the law and order, it was National Guard, which was created under the command of Lafayette. Okay, so this commander Lafayette was also present in American War of Revolution. Within this environment, several political clubs they gained prominence. We have just I've mentioned you Jacobins. They were radical leftist. Okay, they support republicanism against the monarchy and constitutional form of government. What is the meaning of being republic or republicanism? That means there is going to be the elected head of the state, right? Election is important. In monarchy, right, there is no such element. Even in constitutional monarchy, there is no element of election. And the membership was drawn largely from the lower classes, or you can say from the third estate, right? It was the peasants, small artisans, and the bread makers or the shoe makers. Meetings they were held in the Jacobin monastery church of Paris. The objectives were to drive the revolution forward with aggressive reforms. Their main objective was abolition of the monarchy, right? And establish a republican or elected form of government. The leadership over here was Maximilian Robespierre, and the group it became increasingly dominant after 1793, right? Also, they acquired control over the Paris Commune. What was Paris Commune? We just saw that it was there. It was a new municipal government present in Paris, right? They took control over this. They took harsh and repressive policies to suppress the opposition totally. And it is associated with reign of terror. Okay. Now, another political group or club over here is Girondists. They were a moderate and idealistic faction. Okay, they were rival to the Jacobins. It comprised of scholars, idealists, intellectuals. Okay, Madame Roland, she was the key figure. The objectives here oppose the centralizing power of the Paris Commune. Again, the whole point over here is about the decentralized state. Despite being a constitutional monarchy, right, despite transferring into a constitutional monarchy, what do we see? That still the power is with the Paris Commune because it forms the new municipal government. So they wanted to decentralize this whole authority and shift the power away from the Paris. They had the conflict with Jacobins and they became better rivals due to ideological differences. So in October 1793, the Jacobin dominated government had executed 21 prominent Girondists by guillotine. What is guillotine? Guillotine is कि you make everybody stand in a line, okay? And in a line, you just start hanging each and every one, right? So third one over here is Cordeliers. These were again a radical group and they followed a populist approach, leadership under George Danton. And you can say that they played a critical role in toppling the monarchy alongside with Robespierre. They were associated or they advocated for direct democracy and social inequality. Again, who will be the members of this? Will be the third estate. Although third estate will be present everywhere, but the lower strata of the third estate will be present in the Jacobin and this last one. So what happens? What is the significance? These acted as school of political thought and activism, right? They represented different class interests, first of all, and the visions of the revolution, which was liberty, equality, and fraternity. Their rivalry shaped the course of French Revolution.